several things. The first thing, the whole concept of extreme feminism. And this is, I talk about in book two of my book, Black Matters. Book two is called Plagues of Dysfunction. And I talk specifically about feminism and, being clear and being balanced about the conversation. Feminism in the Black community didn't just, blossom out of nowhere. Like there has been an extreme level of sexism in the Black community. And we've been having these inner turmoil and battle, even going back to the civil rights movements. And we can even go back to Africa prior to us even coming here, but that's another show for another time. But, we have had issues within our communities with our men and being ostracized and minimized as women. And I bear witness to you, like right now, this is something that I am really dealing with personally. But in spite of that, there is no way possible that I myself as a Black woman could claim to represent the best interests of Black women without representing the best interests of Black men. There's absolutely, like I have a 12-year-old son. So I am just as privy and prone to all of the issues that girls face, that women face, and things that we need to do to heal as women, as I am to men and the issues that boys face and the issues that our men face. And this is something that we as women, like we have to understand. I heard a sister talking the other day and she was talking about she's in college and, how come when I go out, the Black dudes are always so cheap and the white dudes always pay for everything? Like, those type of conversations. And in my mind, I'm not trying to go in to preach Zaza mode. So I'm just sitting back and listening. But in my mind, I'm like, Black women really do not understand the severity of the war that has been waged on our men. I understand. So when I hear things like this and when I see the way our brothers acting out in the street, in the community, and even some things that my son has to deal with, I understand the war that has been waged on them. It doesn't make excuses. It doesn't mean that, if we have 60 to 70% of Black women who are being molested and the majority of them are being molested in our communities by Black men, this is, that is a very profound issue that we have to face. And those type of things lend to feminism. They lend to extreme feminism, where you have women who have suffered an immeasurable amount of pain, who have never really had any serious counseling. Everybody in the family is hiding it. Nobody's really talking about it. And we have a pedophile in the family, in the community, who is continuing to damage and destroy other women. So if we as women have our brothers standing back knowing that this is happening and they're not doing anything to protect us, of course, there's going to be a backlash, and some women are going to feel like, well, the Black man is my enemy because one Black man destroyed my innocence. So there has to be balance in the conversation about feminism. Now, with that point to the side, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony started feminism as a women's suffrage movement, white women's suffrage movement. It was never meant to include Black women, ever. That's how it started. Now, as abolition, morphed into something else, the abolitionist movement, and they needed numbers, so they started to include other nationalities. But I always tell sisters, if you want to start something for Black women, why don't you start your own thing? Why are you under their umbrella? Because it's not just the white man's world; it is their world. They are ruling together. So how are you going to join on to the mate of the person that you were saying is ostracizing and oppressing our people and all people around the world? It's funny that this whole Instagram thing and all these pictures and there's a very dangerous blend of insecurity and arrogance in a lot of women right now. You see these very beautiful, astute, physically beautiful, curvaceous women. But if you're on constantly showing your body and that's the only thing you have to show, that tells me that you are extremely insecure. And I say, Facebook and these things they don't exist in the real world. They're in the mind. So why don't you put out your mind instead of putting your body out there? Like nobody really knows you enough to be able to appreciate you for anything other than what you show, your physical. And there's a million other women out there who have beautiful, curvaceous bodies. So why are we competing for that type of attention? You also said that sex is a very natural thing when you're talking to your daughter, and you're right. It's also a very dangerous thing. It's also a very exploited and misunderstood divine spiritual act of God two people come together. Like now we talk about jump offs, the jump off, you hooked up with a girl in the room and you did your thing and, you went your way and no, the act of sex is actually meant to create life. The pleasure is the reward. So this is why I talk in my lectures about Taoism and some of the ancient civilizations and their teachings and how they emphasize being able to control yourself sexually. So I say men and women, but I say men who can't control themselves sexually can't be trusted in positions of leadership, and all hell breaks loose. What? What do you mean? Man, I can do whatever I want to do. Like, you should see the facial expressions of the brothers in the audience, and the sisters are like, that's right. And the brothers are like, well, you can't tell me I'm like, do you understand the statistics of abortion? Do you understand the sexually transmitted diseases? Do you understand if 70+% of our children are being raised in single parent households? This is happening because of jump offs and because of brothers who are coming into women's wombs and women who are allowing them to come into their wombs and having sex with no attachment and no responsibility. That is extremely dangerous. The sexual activities that are happening in the Black community is one of the most under-discussed and dangerous elements that is destroying our communities right now, because this is why young girls are dressing the way that they dress. They want male attention. They end up in a closet in a school giving a blowjob to a young boy. Next thing you know, she's expelled. Next thing you know, she's pregnant. Next thing you know, she's a single mother. Next thing you know, she's on welfare. Next thing you know, she's barely getting by, making ends meet, working a job. Next thing you know, her child is growing up hating his father, so therefore he's hating himself. Next thing you know, he ends up in juvenile hall. Then he ends up in jail. He might end up killing somebody. It's a constant cycle, right? So why is it that abstinence is a curse word, right? You start talking about controlling yourself sexually. A brother told me the other day that Black women are not used to seeing Black men who are sexually disciplined, and they don't know how to handle brothers like that. And it's true. It is absolutely true. So on the root, somebody wrote an article about Bill Cosby, and well, so what if Bill Cosby, is accused of raping a bunch of white women because, Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln raped a bunch of slaves? I'm like, do you realize how disrespectful that is to Black men? Do you realize how disrespectful that is to compare Bill Cosby to Abraham Lincoln and someone who was raping slaves? But the difference is we don't understand how low our expectations of Black men are.